Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Parishscope. This is the podcast that is an extension of our newsletter at St. John's Sand Prairie. It has been a while. It has been over a month, but I am Pastor Chris Sansom.
And I'm Casey Doremus, the Creative Worship Director at Our Savior Lutheran in Washington.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's been a while.
It has been a long time. It's just like one thing after the other keeps popping up. Like, when we first started this, by the way, over a year ago.
That's right. We're hitting
a year and a half almost.
Yeah.
But when we started this, is like we chose Tuesday because like Tuesday night was just perfect. It was so free, and it was like, and we do this later, and so it was just perfect. And now all of a sudden, it's like people are creeping in our space.
People are creeping in.
They're creeping in our space. And now it's like once a month, and it's like that's not good. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't like that at all.
It's hard to keep up.
It's hard to keep up. Just hard. But anyway, a lot of things have taken place in this last month. And I'll be honest, each week I was geared up. I was like ready to go with my question and with my discussion topic and all that kind of stuff. I was going to talk about the pardon of Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
We got all that going on, and then all of a sudden, last week, this guy gets shot. This United Healthcare worker.
Oh,
the CEO of United Health.
Yeah, I saw something about that, but I honestly haven't actually, I don't know what the whole story is. I saw a headline.
Yeah. So the CEO of United Health was basically shot by this guy. Basically rides I think he shoots him in the back.
Oh my gosh.
Like 2 or 3 times, kills the man.
Oh.
And then gets away on like a bike. And they can't find him. They finally find him, of all things, at a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like a worker recognizes him. Now, he had a mask on, but I guess he was flirting with a girl, and so he took his mask down for a little bit, and the camera got him, captured his face. Yeah.
And then
flirting's gone wild, and he catch a murderer. So anyway, all that's, but one of the things that's really disturbing about this is a lot of younger people, not just younger people, but a lot of younger people are actually on this guy's side.
Yeah, I can see that being a movement.
He gunned this guy down, and a lot of people are like, yeah, well, he's got a point. He did the right thing, kind of thing. And something like 40% of 18 to 25-year-olds or something like that. Some ridiculous.
Man.
Are in a completely, they're like right on. A lot of people have tried to say, woo this man. Now he's, obviously, there's still a court case that has to happen. But when they got this guy, he had his manifesto all written up. He had it was a 3D printed gun that he did it with, and suppressor, 3D printed. And I think a lot of people thought, okay, this guy, he's probably been hurt by the United Health industry and all this kind of stuff. And maybe he has. I know he had some back pain and some other stuff going on. But the thing is he comes from a very affluent home. And so it's like, there's just a lot to unpack there. But here's the thing that bugs me. It bugs me that so many people, and like I said, not just the younger, but even older, are actually okay with this action.
Yeah.
Like it honestly bugs me. And this is what, look, so this is one of those things. Again, one of the things that we wanted to do, with this whole podcast was to take current events and look at them through a lens of theology. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, from a very secular point of view, I can understand the frustration by which many of these people are experiencing. Maybe they've had a health claim, or maybe they've been to the hospital and they've racked up some of those bills, and all of a sudden United Healthcare, wasn't going to pay this and wasn't going to pay that, and all of a sudden you've got all this stuff. I get it. There's people that have been, dare I say, screwed over by insurance plenty of times.
Oh, yeah.
And so I get the frustration. And there is also no doubt that, these insurance companies, I think, should take note and all that kind of stuff. That being said, it's still a man that was brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Like he did a lot of things that maybe we would find repulsive, but we should be more concerned by the fact that everything he did was legal.
Yeah.
And above board, and everybody paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we should have some concern with that. Do I think healthcare maybe needs to change and adjust? Yeah, exactly. I agree. Now, again, I always say I'm a right-leaning person. I'm a conservative. I wish they would have more competition and make them better product. But again, even all that aside, it's like that. This is one of those things. Like, look, I like Batman. I do.
I wasn't really expecting that to happen. Talk about politics. I tend to lean right, but as you know.
But here's the thing. Like, I like Batman, right?
Yeah.
Like, Batman's fun to read, and it's fun to read that kind of stuff in fiction. But vigilantism in this regard is really just not called for. Like there's so much else. There's so many other things that go. And what's even worse is we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know where this CEO stands on one issue over another. He was never tried by a jury of his peers. This guy made up a decision and decided, and that's why this is murder, right? Like murder is a breach of the first commandment. It's where you put yourself in the place of God and you say, God, you are the God of life and death, but I think that guy needs to die now.
Right.
And you selfishly put your place in a place that only God should have.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a little bit different than, say, a governing body. St. Paul tells us that that our government wields a sword for a reason. And so a government agency, establishing and doing the will of God has actually the right to wield the sword. And sometimes that might mean capital punishment. Now I will say, though, we are in America. We get a vote on these kind of things. Like, we get a say in these kind of things. And so if you really are against capital punishment, that's fine. You are certainly welcome to that opinion. But the point is still the same, right? This is why countries can go to war, and it's okay for a Christian to be a soldier. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't give you the right or the authority to go and wield a weapon to destroy another human life without cause.
Yeah.
Without cause. Does that make any sense? I think that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense.
But I'm just like really disturbed by a lot of these people that are talking this guy up like he's some great hero.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. He's not.
Yeah.
He's a murderer is what he is.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I think that it is scary to see that because I think, there's been a lot of stuff like all the stuff with Hamas and all the things that there's crazy. There's people who are like there are people yelling like down with Israel. It's like, oh my gosh, like how could you even say that? And like it's like, I can't even believe you're shouting something that like you can go back in history and see some of the worst people in the world leaders of the world who caused wars and genocides, and like you're saying things they said. You're repeating the things they said.
You're in agreement with them. Yeah.
And it's just crazy to me that people can get into that wavelength of just going that way. But I don't know. But I think the old saying, misery loves company, is definitely, very true. And I see that a lot, just especially on the internet. I work in social media, and you just see some people that, they love just tearing people down, and people join in 100% because they've had a crappy day. So if they watch this video of some guy tearing someone down, it makes them feel like, I don't know, it gives them some sort of entertainment, some sort of feeling that makes them like feel less bad about themselves or something or their life, and they just go with it, Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy things said and people who are like 100% agree, and I'm like, I cannot believe you would ever say that. Anybody would say that, but yeah.
Oh, internet trolls are I always laugh a little bit though, because I remember this was years ago. I was trying to advertise through Facebook, and so I was running an ad in their marketplace thing, and man, so many people commented just pure venom.
Oh yeah,
right. It's just pure awfulness. But the funniest thing to me was all these guys, and several of them did this. Not all of them, but several of them did this. And they'd always end after saying, I just disagree with church and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And then they'd say, why do I see all these ads? And I remember one of them, I finally was like, I'm done with this. I wrote on there, I said, you are seeing these ads because you keep interacting with these ads and you keep commenting on these ads.
Yeah.
And so Facebook thinks you like these ads.
Yeah. They're going to keep sending it to you.
And it's like, that was it. Like I heard there was so many people that did that though. Like, I don't get why I see these ads. Well, you're writing a comment, are you not?
Yeah.
As far as Facebook is concerned, that's a success. That's a win right there.
Oh yeah.
Like they got you to interact with it.
Well, and they want you to stay on their platform for as long as they can.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there writing out, how could you possibly say this, you idiot? Blah 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 blah. And you're going off on somebody, or you're saying like this, like who was it? There was someone the other day that there was a picture of some female, an actress, and man, it was just the comments were like, oh, she's never been like pretty, and it's like, why are you?
Right?
Like, why are you saying that? It was just so weird. It's like all these people like thinking I need to say that she's ugly. Yeah. And it's like, okay, obviously she's not. Like, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, it's like, I get you don't like her, but it's just to sit there and say she's ugly when you know that's not true is just ridiculous. But they're just feeding into it. They're just making,
oh yeah,
the more comments, the more it's going to get pushed out, the more people are going to see it. So like, you're just feeding into it. You gotta. Oh yeah,
and that's why that environment, I think, all too often becomes way too toxic.
Yeah,
and and again, you get stuff like this where again, people feel really ripped off by things like insurance companies. And again, I'm not saying that insurance companies are right. Like, look, man, you can disagree with insurance companies. I and there's a lot of valid concerns out there for the insurance company, healthcare, all that kind of stuff. Valid concerns, valid topics, maybe for a different time. Yeah. The question is, if you are a bad CEO at a company that does terrible things, do you then have the right to either get shot if you're that CEO or shoot that other person?
Yeah.
And that's really the question that comes up. And the answer is no, you don't. Mm-hmm. And again, a country has laws for a reason. God establishes governments to be an authority. Now, does our government follow the will of the Lord? Well, probably doesn't, but it is one of the better ones that are out there, and it tends to do so more than a lot of other governing agencies. Mm-hmm. That being said, if the government does something or enacts something that is, dare I say, anti-biblical or against God, we as good Christians should not follow that for sure. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like you gotta, you can't go to the other extreme. Like, right?
Yeah.
If a healthcare professional, like I keep saying healthcare, if a health insurance, say professional or CEO, like if they do something wrong, you still don't have a right to go and shoot them. Mm-hmm. You can choose to not use their product.
Yeah.
But you don't have a right to go shoot them.
Yeah. I don't know. I've thought a lot about in the last few months about just the reaction is like your reaction can't be more than the cause. And I'm sure this guy's done, some of these companies have done some pretty slimy things.
Oh, for sure.
But
for sure.
Is that give you the right to shoot somebody in the back? Like, is that, it just,
yeah,
it's this weird, and I'm finding more and more that it's just the people who retaliate. Sometimes they're the monster more than the person who caused it at times, because yes, there's a reaction or there's something that caused it, but you know, if I don't know, I don't know. That's been something I've thought a lot about in the last couple months, is just people who take things too far to correct, and they end up looking worse because of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, you know, so this is just one of those things. It's a hot button issue. It's on the, you know, talking, you know, with all this, and you see it on the news. You read a little article about it, and it's just like, wow, man, no, like the murder is not justified.
Yeah,
like especially the way it was done, like in the back. You know, I mean, this man wasn't a threat to him in any capacity.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I tell you what, that's just that's crazy. I'll tell you something. Since we're kind of, I don't know, I'm on this just retaliation stuff. This is a bit of a stretch. If there's anything else you want to cover on this story,
no, I think we're good.
Okay, so as people who are adamant listeners, is that the right way to say it? We've talked before how I have a Power Ranger YouTube channel.
Yes, you do.
Now, a while back, I made a video that was about two actors. There was a big, they didn't get along.
A big kerfuffle.
Yeah, and that's when I've really thought about the whole sort of your reaction can't be more, because one of the guys kind of famously was a bit like he told outlandish stories, said a lot of, you know, he over exaggerated sort of his martial arts skills, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So this other guy, when he came on the show, he called him out a lot and sort of, I don't know, just would point out that he's lying or this isn't true, you can't do this or whatever. Yeah. And so that guy who called him out spent, 20, 25 years bashing him publicly at all the Comic-Cons and all these things, and just really like saying mean stuff.
Yeah.
Saying stuff like, he's a wimp, he's a fake, knowing all the, and he said something along the lines of like, if I was him, I'd hate myself. And like just stuff that was like, no.
So this was the guy the guy that was talking was the one that was being called out all the time back in the past?
No, this is the guy who was calling him out.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. Just making sure I had that straight.
Yeah. So now remember, they were 18 at the time.
Yeah.
So they're young. And so this went on for years and years. Now, the other guy, at one point he challenged him to like a UFC fight, and the guy never responded. So then he was calling him out, calling him like a wuss and stuff. The other guy actually went on after the show to become an EMT, and he was overseas. He wasn't in the military, but he was contracted through the military to help out. So while this guy is going off about him at Comic-Cons, he's like overseas being an EMT. So it's like, okay, you're kind of overdoing it. You know, like now you're looking like the bully.
Yeah.
Like you're looking like the guy. And recently there was a video posted by the original guy who was the one getting called out all the time, and they said they famously left the show because of contract issues, and they basically were trying to get these like people to sign a new contract, which gave them everything. And so weirdly, my video had been sitting dormant for a couple months, and all of a sudden it went from having about 16,000 views to it has almost 50,000 in like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what happened? I was like, this is so weird. And I'm getting a lot more positive. At first, there was a whole thing where people were really hating on me about it because they were saying I was trying to cause something. It's like, so anyway, the video I did was about their beef, kind of talking about, when you're 18 years old, all going through it. And it wasn't really trying to be biased towards either one of them.
Sure.
I was just trying to explain kind of where it came from. And this guy, they came out with a video about why they left the show. So all of a sudden my video is getting like tons and tons of views because of their video. So it's just a weird thing that all of a sudden I'm getting all these comments, but there's some people on there, like you speak about social media, there's some people who are saying, or I should also say in context, the guy who was saying all these things publicly for years, a few years ago, he committed suicide.
Yes.
Had a lot of issues. And since I made that video, I've had a lot of people actually contact me and give me a lot of insight to him and his life and the things he was doing. And I remember talking to you about this a while back. Yeah. It is fascinating. It's fascinating.
And again, I can't stress this stuff. It's fascinating at least in part, by how deep into Power Rangers you really are.
I know.
Like it's not just like you're just a big fan. It's like, no, like you've actually talked to some of the Power Rangers, the actors, and discussed some of the, I mean, this is just wild. But anyway, keep going.
And it's so wild because I've been told things that I'm not allowed to tell people. Like, I'm going to tell you that, like, someone has messaged me or talked to me on the phone and been like, I'm going to tell you this. Do not tell anyone I told you this, and don't like go around telling, like, saying this, but I'm telling you, so when you make a video, you know what to avoid.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. So it's just kind of crazy. But one of the things that happened is I had a guy who commented and goes, yeah, my buddy went to high school with him. I'm like, oh, really? He goes, yeah, he's got some stories. I was like, well, I'd love to hear him. And it's like things, you know, so this guy who was calling out this other guy apparently he wasn't a great dude in high school. Apparently he was pretty awful. And I haven't heard the stories yet, but it's just crazy. And I think about all the things you do throughout your life, like all the little choices you make, you know, bullying someone or whatever, like those things really will come around to bite you, whether or not, you know, you're living in the same place you were or whatever. It's just, it's been so weird. It's so weird to see that all this stuff has happened.
You know, I really love Jordan Peterson.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
You know, his voice structure and everything, but just a lot of what he has to say is just really good. And one of my favorite sayings of his, and I'm gonna butcher it because I can't remember it exactly, but he's doing one of his lectures. This was actually back when he was still a college professor in Canada.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how, you know, there's a sense where people think that that bad people get away with stuff.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, people will do these horrible things and people will go, I can't believe they got away with that. And he says, well, I'm here to tell you that nobody really gets away with nothing. He says, what happens is like they've made one bad choice and okay, it seems like they got away with it. But the reality is they'll make this bad choice and this bad choice and this bad choice. And before long, it's like an elastic, like your reality will eventually snap back. Mm-hmm. And when it does, it'll throw you on your butt. And then you go, well, how'd that happen? Yeah. And then and if you really are reflective, you'll say, okay, well, I made this decision. I made that decision, you know, mm-hmm. and it's like, yeah. So it kind of hammers you back. Now I find that interesting. I find that fascinating. That being said, you know, and again, kind of thinking through this theologically, you know, I don't buy into karma. I don't buy into any of that nonsense. By the way, whenever I say karma, I don't just mean like, you know, life gives you lemons and you make lemonade. And I don't mean like, you know, if you do good things, good thing will happen to you. I'm not saying that. Karma is actually a Wiccan theological principle, which basically states that you will get in return that which you give. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, but so, I mean, yes, I don't know if I buy into complete karma, but at the same time, I understand what Peterson is saying. And I actually kind of agree with it to a degree that, yes, I mean, people that do really bad things tend to make a lot of bad decisions that will end up eventually blowing up in their face. Yeah. Now, when I say are there exceptions to the rule, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. I'm not going to even sit here and try to come up with any because any attempt that I would have to come up with any would maybe backfire on me. Like, what if I say, oh, this person, you know, they got away with, you know, stealing and robbery and yada, yada. Now they're really rich, but then it turns out they're really depressed. Yeah. You know, like, did they really get away with it? And that's going to be kind of that question at hand. So I don't want to say, oh, yeah, here's a good example. No, I don't have an example. But well,
would taking it like, okay, you know, karma is like a Wiccan ideology, but for Christians, wouldn't it be somewhat like the seeds you sow, like would that have any kind of relevance to it? Like, you know, if you make good choices, you do the things like God leads you to do. Like I don't know if that, again, some people may not be, I don't know, maybe it's not like a promise that if you do great things. God's just going to reward you with like money or this or that, of course. But I'm sorry, I'm going off now. I'm getting in a bit of a circle.
You're actually bringing up some good stuff. Some good points. And some of the things though that we as Christians need to understand is there is actually a distinctive difference between, dare I say, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And this is actually one of those kind of unique differences. Like the Israelites had kind of a very strict and rigid like rule set. Mm-hmm. And part of that strict and rigid rule set was so that they could maintain and keep in the promised land. Mm-hmm. The promised land was their promised land that God gives to them that they could live in, that they could be in. Now, one of the things that I like to say is like the Old Testament is all typology. It's all a foreshadowing of what was to come in the New Testament. What we see is just a shadow we see being fulfilled in Christ. Mm-hmm. And what we see fulfilled in Christ, we see basically the culmination of what is to come when Christ returns. For the Old Testament, they were trying to get to the promised land. We're trying to get to the new heavens and a new earth. Mm-hmm. So on the one hand, the theology syncs up. The promised land is simply a foreshadowing of heaven. Mm-hmm. And so you have all that. So in a lot of ways, though, in the Old Testament, it was very common. I should say Old Testament. This was especially true in the intertestamental period, and then by the time of Christ, it was almost like crazy. And the way they kind of worked it out was like this: if you were really good, God would reward you, mm-hmm. and if God rewarded you, that meant you were really good. It's a cycle. So if you were, say, a good Jew and you tried your best to go to synagogue and make sure you kept the commandments, and you ended up wealthy, you might see that as a sign that God really, really loves you. And so he is blessing you with wealth. Mm-hmm. But you can recall, like, this actually ties in. Like, this is part of the reason that you have, like, the rich man and Jesus. Mm-hmm. The rich man comes up and says, hey, what do I have to do to inherit eternal life? And, he says, I've done all the commandments, all that kind of stuff. And then Jesus says, well, sell everything, right? You can see the dilemma. Like the rich man, I think, was hoping that Jesus was just going to say, oh, yeah, you've already done it. Look at you. Yeah. God already loves you so much. Mm-hmm. And instead Jesus says, yeah, no, take all the stuff that you think is a reward and then give it to others. Yeah. And then like give your reward to everybody else. And by the way, we run into the same thing today. We have very popular preachers nowadays that say the very same thing. Look, we did a thing on Joel Osteen. Yeah. And, this was very much his thing, right? If you just have enough faith, if you just do good enough, if you just are good enough Christian or person or whatever, then you're going to get rewarded. Long life. You're going to have money. You're going to win the lottery or whatever. Yada 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 yada. But the problem is that that's not necessarily the truth of what God calls on us. Mm-hmm. Right? We're going to, don't be surprised if you're persecuted for being a Christian. Yeah. Like that sometimes that just comes with it. Unfortunately, it sucks, but it comes with it. And so we cannot just expect good things. Now, all that being said, is your life typically better if you follow the 10 Commandments? Yes. Mm-hmm. If you murder somebody, like this guy did, yep. You're going to have police hunting for you. You're going to have people running after you. Your life is probably not going to be very good. It's not going to be very, joyous. You won't get to spend time in places. If you steal stuff, you're always going to be looking over your shoulder. Mm-hmm. If you dishonor your father and mother and governing authorities and all that kind of stuff, guess what? It's not going to go well with you. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, even when it comes to like things like the sixth commandment, like, right? Like, look, you start cheating on your spouse, your marriage probably not going to last very long. Yeah. And so, yeah, all these commandments, they come into play. Yes, if you follow the commandments, your life very well may go better. Mm-hmm. That being said, it does not guarantee it.
Yeah, and I think you're still going to go through your ups, Yeah,
you're going to have ups and downs.
Because like it's, like they say, it's if you want to improve as a person or you ask God make me more patient. Well, he's going to give you a chance to learn how to be patient.
Yeah.
And that means you're probably going to be in a situation where it's really stressful and you're going to have to figure out how to be patient.
Yeah.
So you're going to have those moments where God's teaching. I feel like I view it as like you're going to have the moments where God's teaching you and showing you the next thing you need to learn, but generally I think, I don't know, things just seem to turn out better. I feel like now I feel like I'm getting to the age now, I'm 33, that I'm starting to see some of the things that I chose to do in life paying off. Compared to some other people that are the same age as me that chose other paths or chose to maybe not be as faithful in like their marriage or their relationships. I knew guys in high school that they kind of cheat on their girlfriends all the time. They kind of messed around and then they got married and then surprise, things aren't working out now. And but it just, there's certain things that I'm seeing, from other people in my life that I'm like, oh yeah, that finally came around and kind of bit you, didn't it? It's like, it's just, I feel like it's a lot of the little choices you make, that get you to that point. But
and again, there's an absolute truth in that. I just, I think the difference with the theological presumption of something like karma versus what we're talking about is like karma is, from a theological perspective, a guarantee.
Yeah.
You do good things happen to you, period. Mm-hmm. That's just the God of nature and the world and all this stuff that's all playing out. What we're saying is that you do good and more than likely something good will happen to you, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just not going to happen. You might wish it would, but there's not a guarantee in that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you want to add in the realm of, say, heaven and the new heavens and new earth in Christ, well, then there is a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
But even that's not a guarantee based on how good you are.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee based on Christ and what he's done for you. And so it ends up being, even that is like completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Because he did that, not you.
Yeah.
Not us. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'll tell this story. I kind of already told you this, but it's just, I think about some of the things that happen, things I've done. And back in 2020, I did a maternity leave that I didn't.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really want to do it, to be honest with you, but it was a friend and they were like, I really need someone to do it. And I had done my wife's, so I was like, all right, okay, fine, I'll do it.
Fine.
And so, I was, so I did that and it was great. And then, actually in the middle of doing that, that's when I started working at St. John's. But then like all these years later, I was once again, there was a family for my wife's school that wanted a instrument and they were looking for one. And one popped up on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a really good price. And I said, hey, I sent it to them, and they said, would you come with us? And I was like, again, I don't really want to drive all the way over to Pekin for this, but okay, fine. Right. And that's the nice thing to do. And they're a nice family who always help out. So it's like, it's okay, I need to go do it. Well, then the kid selling the instrument was a kid that I had for maternity leave. And he was like talking about how he really wants to play in a band. And I right now have an instrument that I don't have anybody covering, and that's his instrument. And it was just this coincidental, he was like, Mr. Doremus? And it was such a weird, oh my gosh. And so we exchanged numbers and he's like, I'm definitely interested in this. And so it's like, what a weird world. And that's one of those moments in life. I feel like that's really, to me, it was like, that's really a God thing because I did this thing. I didn't really want to do it that bad, but it was like, someone needs, they really need someone to do it. I should do it. And even I remember this kid. I really do. I remember because he was kind of a spastic kid.
Yeah.
And I really liked him though. But I enjoyed just kind of he was in a couple classes I did. So it was just fun kind of I joked with him a lot and everything. So it's like all these years later, it's just like, whoa, small world. I mean, small world, but also just, I'm glad I don't know. I'm always glad that I'm not like a huge jerk to people. As
Right?
much as, like, I'm glad I wasn't like mean to this kid in class or anything, So it was just like such a weird, all these years later. And I'm like, I'm glad. I feel like that's partly just how I've been raised, is like to always try to be kind to people and try to figure out a way to connect with somebody if I can. And it just, it's like, who knows? I don't know. Things just seem to work out in the right ways if you're, trying to be following God, what God wants you to do. I don't know.
Well, again, that's absolutely fair. That's that's valid. But again, I think the big thing is just, it really is just kind of that guarantee, kind of bringing up that Osteen point, right? Like, if you just pray hard enough, it's gonna be whatever you want. Like,
and you just got to get God's attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I haven't done the thing. I did it right after we did that video, which has been a long time. It was his whole sermon. It was a lot of talking about like, this is what gets God's attention when you do this, when you pray. And so I started doing this thing where I'd snap like,
come on, God.
Like, I'm getting God's attention.
Yeah, right.
Look at me. Okay. Now I'll pray. I did that for months because I just thought it was so funny. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, we haven't seen each other for so long that I just have these stories. I'm like, I got to find a way to fit these in.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're just on my mind,
Well, when you're only meeting once a month, apparently.
I know. Jeez.
Man. And we're not going to meet next week.
Well, I mean, what? Because it's Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
I guess that's probably true.
Talk about a cop-out, but that's the I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Well, do we have anything we need to discuss for Christmas? I mean, is there any sort of, it's coming up, so do we need to?
Yeah, like what do you want to do? Casey DeRemus, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know.
What?
I mean, right now I'm just in the thick of it with trying to get Christmas music planned.
Oh, yeah.
And getting everything all, messed around. I've made a lot of my own chord charts this year because Christmas music, I don't know if people know this, but Christmas music, there's a meme online the other day that was like, oh, the month where Christian or church musicians learn that chords have numbers in them. Because it's like throughout the year, you're just playing basic chords. And then you get to Christmas and it's all this old music that's been around forever, and it's like C7 or like E minor flat 5, and you're like, what? It's just like a lot of crazy stuff. When most of the year it's just like C, F, G, and that's like it. It's just like kind of easy stuff. So I do a lot of simplifying for the contemporary service sort of thing.
Sure.
But no, that's all. We're just we're trying to move. By the way, I want to say this.
Yeah, I'm ready. You got like really excited there.
For the first time in my life, I've watched past Home Alone 2, and we've watched Home Alone 3, and even we watched it was called like Home Alone. It had some special title. It wasn't a number. Well, it was another Home Alone.
Now Macaulay Culkin is only in the first two.
He's only in the first two, and that's why I was like, you can't have Home Alone without Macaulay Culkin,
right? That's canon. It's the first two.
Yeah. But I have to say this. I think we've really missed something in our world that, now follow me on this.
I'm following.
Home Alone should have become the James Bond of like the child actor. It's like whoever the new kid is, like the big actor. It's like people love the show Young Sheldon. It's like that kid should have had a Home Alone movie.
Oh, is that what you think?
I think so. The kid there's a show called The Goldbergs. This kid, hilarious kid with a little crazy voice. He should have had a Home Alone movie.
Man, so we'd have like 20 Home Alone movies.
I think they should have just kept making them, but they just pass it down to the next, just like James Bond does, where they have a new James Bond coming.
Yeah.
I think they need to do that.
And at this point, they can have Macaulay Culkin be the parent.
He could.
He's old enough.
Yeah, he is. And I'm just saying they were pretty good. The third one.
Yeah.
The kid in the movie, he was on Home Improvement.
Oh,
the old Tim Allen show. And but his sister is Scarlett Johansson, but she's like 13. And then you're watching, you're like, is that Scarlett Johansson as his sister? you know? And just throughout the whole movie, there's all these people that you're like, wait, is that so-and-so? Who was like, later on, they were in a really big TV show or something. Yeah. It's fun.
That is kind of fun.
I'm just throwing it out there. That's the only real Christmas thing I got, I guess. What about you? Any exciting Christmas stuff you done this year?
Oh, this year? No, not really. It's been honestly, it's just been a busy time. Busy time. It always is.
Yeah.
It's been good. Got the fancy coffee. So we got candy cane coffee.
Oh, nice.
Love candy canes. So seriously, I like peppermint so much. I love peppermint, and so I love the candy cane coffee, and I think at some point I'm gonna buy a peppermint plant.
A peppermint plant.
Yeah, I tried to grow one from seeds a couple years ago. Did not work. So I'm gonna have to just buy one. I'm gonna buy a live plant, a peppermint plant, because I love it so much.
Wow, I didn't realize this. Oh, I got something I'll have to make for you sometime.
But anyway, but no, I mean, there's lots of things going on, lots of events to get to, and all that. Saw the kindergarten, or not the kindergarten, the preschool Christmas program this morning. That was quite fun. So anyway, but I am looking forward to Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. And basically I will have my tradition, which is to watch Nakatomi Tower be saved once again. It's a Die Hard for Christmas, my friends.
That's right.
It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off the building. Anyway, so I am definitely looking forward to that. Now, I will say this. Now, I have watched all of the Die Hards.
Yes.
But that being said, only the first two are canon. Now, they did not change the actors at all. Like, it's Bruce Willis is John McClane throughout the whole of them.
Why aren't they canon?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, let me shed some light on this.
Okay.
Here's the thing. The very first movie, right? It's about a New York cop. He's a common everyday cop. Mm-hmm. Who gets put in a really sucky situation.
Right.
That's the whole premise of the whole movie.
Yes.
Just a regular cop, life sucks, this happens.
Yeah.
The second movie, common cop, now he's not there anymore, he whatever. Mm-hmm. Life sucks, this happened, it's awful.
Yeah.
Not as good as the first one by any stretch, but still, as far as I'm concerned, canon.
Yeah.
The third one is just weird.
Yeah.
The third one's weird. I guess you might be able to consider the third one canon, but it's just a weird. I don't know. Something about it just doesn't ring true. But then you start getting to like Live Free, Die Hard, and now all of a sudden, Bruce Willis is like a superhero. Oh, he's like punching through walls and stuff and doing all this stuff and driving a car into a helicopter. It's like, no, it's like, no, he is a regular cop who is in a sucky situation.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. Like that's the whole shtick. That's the whole bit.
Yeah.
It's Christmas Eve. There's a Christmas party. Ho, ho, ho. And something bad happens.
Now I feel bad asking this, but is every movie around Christmas Eve?
No,
just the first one.
First two
are.
First two.
See, that's the mistake. They should have kept going. It should have always been a Christmas theme.
Yeah, and honestly, that probably would have helped, along with the other thing I just mentioned.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't Fast and Furious.
Now that being said, I will say this: Live Free and Die Hard is still a fantastic movie.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. I actually enjoy it as an action movie. I just don't consider it really one of the good Die Hard. Like it's just not canon to me.
Yeah,
like it's just too different.
Yeah. Now, do they do anything that makes it so that it wouldn't work canon wise? Because sometimes that happens. They like try to change a backstory.
Yeah, no, I'm not that serious into it. I wouldn't know. Maybe they do, and I just don't know about it. Like Bruce Willis hasn't called me up to talk to me.
Yeah, no. I mean, I could imagine anybody who's that crazy about a certain show or a certain movie that would ever be able to. I don't have 50,000
views on my podcast. talking about Die Hard.
Yeah, yeah. How long could you go, do you think, on I can't imagine doing, like, Power Rangers has 30 years of shows. Like, they have almost like 1,000, episodes.
Oh, sure.
Almost over. But I can't imagine, like, trying to make content for Die Hard on a channel for that long. That'd be hard. Not a lot to pull from.
No, you'd have to go like Doctor Who for that.
Yeah.
Doctor Who. That show's been around for like 50 years. 50 plus years. I'm sure they've cracked 1,000 episodes.
Are you a Doctor Who person?
I would say that I love Doctor Who. They lost me when Judy Whittaker took over.
Okay.
And I know this is a podcast and it's about church and stuff, but the reality is it lost me because all of a sudden it became very much we're going to preach to you.
Yes.
And that irritated the tar out of me.
Yeah.
Like, and we've talked about this before, but like, entertainment is entertainment. Like, just quit preaching to me. Like, let me sit down, let me eat my popcorn and have a good time and watch a show that's going to take me away for an hour.
Yep.
Like, that's all I want. And like, and it's like one of the fun things about Doctor Who is they tackle like history, but it's silly, right?
Yeah,
it's silly. Like you find out the Queen of England used to be a werewolf. Like, it's not like you're going to have like these legit opinions on the Queen of England. Like, no, it's like, it's this goofy, silly, fun thing. And it's kind of fun the way they twist it all around and they turn it all around. It's just great fun.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden with Judy Whittaker, all of a sudden they're going back to civil rights and there's a commentary on civil rights and then they're going over here and they're doing, and it's like, I mean, again, I don't have a problem thinking about civil rights, but then it went in another direction and it became very preachy for a very more of a liberal agenda.
Yeah.
And, it's always, Doctor Who has always had a few of those underpinnings.
Right.
But again, it's of the way of like, it was just funny and it's poking fun and it was fine. But then when Judy Whittaker, and again, Judy Whittaker was a fantastic actress, by the way. I watched several of the first episodes. Yeah. She did a fantastic job. It was the writers of the show.
Yeah.
It really was. They ruined it.
Yeah.
I own the first like 10 seasons of the reboot.
Oh yeah.
Just love them. I still watch them every now and again. They're some of my favorites. I do.
Yeah.
I love them.
It's fun to take out. I mean, one of the best historical films I've ever seen is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh yeah.
I've seen that. Great film.
Completely legit.
They have a whole fight scene running across a stampeding thing of horses. Yep. It's amazing. Great stuff. Anyway, I think we've probably got off topic a little bit.
but now I got to ask, are you a Whovian?
I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not, unfortunately. I feel like if I had gotten into it at a younger age, I would have been really into it.
Oh, I didn't get it until I was older. So take that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That. I think I was 33.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
See, I don't think my brain has enough capacity to take in anything else. Like I started watching like the Rings of Power and I just can't even get through it because my brain's like, while I'm watching it, my brain will go, you don't really care about this. And I'll go, yeah, you're right. And then I'll turn it off, And it's like, you should be watching Power Rangers right now. I'm like, yeah, I probably should be.
That's what your brain says. You should watch some Power Rangers.
To be honest, when you have a YouTube channel, you kind of feel that way. It's like, I should be working.
I should be working.
Just watching Power Rangers.
Should be working.
Sorta,
I need to watch Power Rangers. It's my job.
It's my job. Kinda. I don't get paid for it, but it's just a very, it's a lot of that. You feel like you should be working towards something, but the problem is now I can't watch an episode and just watch it.
No, it's ruined for you.
Now I'm like, I don't know if it's ruined. I just like. I have to psychoanalyze every single detail now because it's, if I can catch one little thing that was said different, wrong or said, I have to know that.
Can you ever like have nostalgia?
Yeah.
Like go back and watch like the really old episodes.
I
just enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate certain stuff that I remember. I remember the way there was like one episode in particular where it ended on a cliffhanger, and I remember as a kid, because that didn't happen a lot. So the cliffhanger, I remember being just old enough and being like, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen?" And it was like I had to wait a whole week to find out what happened. And that was I remember that. I remember that feeling. Yeah. So when I watch it, I remember like watching that episode going like, I remember just how like intense that was.
So now what do you think about the movie?
The 2017 one?
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, really?
I do. I think it's a good movie.
Okay. I thought you were going to be like, I hate it with a passion.
No, because, this is, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this. I actually have like an hour-long video on my channel analyzing it. But it's funny because people, this is interesting to kind of
But you see, this is for me. Like, I'm getting a chuckle out of this.
This is what's interesting is because, and this kind of pertains, I think, to a lot of people, their judgment on anything they see.
Yeah.
Is that I've had so many people comment and say stuff like, you could just tell they didn't care about, because they did like some different suits. Their big machines they go in called Zords, they were a little different.
Yeah.
And they were kind of more alien inspired and stuff like that. And so all these people would comment and just go like, they didn't, appreciate it. And everything they did was just so stupid. And you can tell they don't even know anything about Power Rangers and blah, 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 blah. And then you watch the behind the scenes and they are so into it.
Yeah.
And they are so serious about it. But they're like, we don't want to just use the same suits, because it's like, what are you paying money to just come see the same thing? Like with a little bit higher production value. It's like not really that great. So like everything they did was out of absolute love for the show. And so it's funny how some people look at it or watch it and go, they didn't care about it. This is stupid, and they just throw it away.
Yeah.
Without even, and I watch it and I see all the little details they put into it and how much they really worked on it. And I'm like, they really wanted to tell a great story and they really wanted to do a great job. And so I don't know. It's weird. My like other people's perception of they didn't put any effort into this, and my perception of they put a lot of effort into this.
Sure.
So it's interesting because I don't know. There's other stuff like that in anybody's life that they see that they'll think, oh, they don't, this or this show, they don't even try. And then you look at it, it's like, no, they really do.
Yeah.
They're really trying.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you right now, like
did you watch it?
No. Oh, actually, no. The movie, yes.
Oh, okay.
I watched it some time ago. But I was going to say, like, like a lot of times, you think pastors can do that with sermons, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Once you learn how to preach, once you get, you can judge other sermons.
The old Lowry loop.
The old Lowry loop coming into play here. But I'll tell you, there was a preacher, and this is actually really good. Like, so there is a man by the name of Norman Nagel. He's since passed on, but he is like legendary for his sermons, like just legendary. And one of the things that I used to do, I don't do it as much anymore. I probably should. I used to actually really enjoy doing it. Is when I read my devotions, I'll read through scriptures, and usually there's like a section of book for me to read. Well, after you go through a year or two of that, you kind of run out of sections of book. It's like the section of book kind of gets boring after a while.
Yeah.
I don't mind reading the scripture, 1,000 times over and over and over again. But that little section, I was kind of like, okay, I need something different. And so what I would do is I started looking up sermons based on the text that I was reading.
Yeah.
And then I'd get them from either Fort Wayne or St. Louis Seminary because they published their sermons. And I know it's from a professor, and I know it's... And so I was looking up... Some of these are really old. And I found one on one of these texts, and I can't remember which one, but it was by Norman Nagel. And I had heard him preach a couple times, and I thought it was okay. But I didn't understand why people would buy books. Yeah. Like, he has books of his published sermons. Like, this man he's known for his preaching. And I have to admit, the first 3/4 of the sermon, I was kind of like, I think I could preach better than this guy.
Yeah.
And I forget what he did. and it wasn't a Lowry loop, if you must know.
Yeah.
But it was something. I need to go back and find that sermon again. It flipped on me so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I found myself, after hearing that sermon, I was like, that was the best sermon I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I was like, that was the best sermon I've ever heard in my life. Because he got me.
Yeah.
He got me. You know what I mean? Like he had me. And I was like, the whole time I'm going, this sermon is boring. Like, I could probably preach better than this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody's buying my books, but still, I mean, it's like that was the thought. And then all of a sudden, like, I turn around and I go, wow, he got me. That guy is like the best sermon I ever heard in my life. It's awesome.
Well, I think it's, just sometimes, well, and you probably know this because you study the Bible at such an intense rate that, I mean, I would say 99, probably 0.9% of our the churches you attend probably don't study as intensely as you do, because that's like what you do, and you're a nerd about it too.
And,
like you
I'm
love
a nerd about it. Yeah.
But it is interesting just because, I mean, when you really know something, you've dedicated so much time to it, and like mine's Power Rangers, which I probably should be dedicating my time to more other things that'd be better. But it's just funny when you see people make comments like, oh, I could preach better than this guy, or like, oh, this season sucked, or whatever. They were horrible characters. Yeah. And then it's like, it's just funny because I have such a different perspective because I've spent so much time on it. Yeah. And so that's funny though. You say like, oh, I could preach better than this guy. You know? But as a musician, man, I can't. Musicians are like that all the time. It's always like, oh, I can play better than that guy, even though it's like some guy who's like a professional musician who tours. And you're like, I'm better than him. It's like, no, you're not.
By the way, there was another sermon that he ended up preaching, again, that I listened to. Because after that, I bought the book. Yeah. I bought the book, and then I actually bought a CD of his sermons. And, again, same deal, kind of listening to them. I found another one that did become, and, it's weird because, not everybody does this, but I have a favorite sermon, and it is one of his. Yeah. And it's actually the sermon he preached on Holy Cross Day, like 1998. So it was like before I was still in high school when he preached this. And I got a recording of it. I won't do it any justice if I try to tell you what it was about, but it was just awesome.
How long are his sermons typically?
This particular one is 8 minutes.
Wow. I was expecting, I mean, I don't know if he's a denomination or what
he's LCMS Lutheran.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
Well, was. Gotcha. He's passed on.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't sure.
So this one was 8 minutes. The one that really caught me off guard, though, was like 17. Yeah. So it's like he has a pretty wide range.
He was getting up there in time. A lot of people be looking at their watches nowadays like, we're going on 15 minutes now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. See, I was expecting it to be some guy who like preaches for like 45 minutes or something. It was like some big long. But that's amazing. That's very interesting.
Yeah. No, he became well known for what's known as his inductive or dynamic style of preaching. Which, ironically, the inductive nature means he starts off with a bunch of like seemingly side points that basically they all collide somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And so then all of a sudden you reevaluate the points differently. Yeah. And so he was kind of like a master at that.
Yeah, he's like a mystery novel writer who's like, what's going on? Yeah. Here's the ending.
Oh man, yeah.
That's interesting. But maybe we should listen to that sometime and do a little reaction on it.
Oh, we'd have to listen to the whole thing all in one swoop.
It's what, 8 minutes?
Yeah, it's like 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could do. I mean, we could do. Yeah. You don't want to pause it, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's just, yeah.
Trust me, you just don't want to pause this one.
Nothing we could say could add to this.
It's fantastic. It's just fantastic.
That's very interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, say his name again, just so if
Norman Nagel.
Norman Nagel. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna have to look some up. I mean, I'm assuming there's probably like YouTube videos or something of his.
Honestly, there might be, but again, I bought the CD.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to Norman Nagel. Okay, I'll have to look up.
I'll share the sermon with you. I listened to it. I've listened to it so many times.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But yeah.
I don't know if I should start with the best one right at the start.
Yeah.
Then everything else might feel like a letdown.
That's true.
Anyway, I think we're ready for our final.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Ready for church chatter. All right. Well, the Christmas season is upon us. Actually, we're in the middle of Advent. We're in the pink. Yay.
Yep.
So we have one more Advent service coming up this Wednesday. Tomorrow, in my case, it's very possible you won't listen to this until after that is over.
Yep.
But anyway, then we have a regular Sunday service. But then on Tuesday, Christmas Eve, we have services at 4:30, which is a contemporary service. And then we have a 7 p.m. and an 11 p.m.
Oh, man.
And then we have a 10 a.m. Christmas Day service.
Yes.
And let me tell you guys something. If you have never been to a Christmas Day service, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's not that it's like crazy different or anything, but there is just something very peaceful about it.
Mm-hmm.
And might I add, the word Christmas literally means Christ Mass. Mass being a service that features the Eucharist, our Holy Communion.
Mm-hmm.
So the word Christmas is actually the title of a service.
Yeah.
So go to church. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Look, Christmas Eve is great. Go to church on Christmas Day.
That's right.
Yeah. What I said.
I saw a meme the other day that was something about, it was some rhyme. Gosh, okay, I'll have to look it up because it was really funny. But it was something about, it was something along the lines of St. Nicholas punching you in the face or something like that.
Yeah, he punched Arius.
Yeah, I knew the reference because we've talked about it. But it was really, I couldn't remember. It rhymed and it was really funny, and I can't remember.
Arius is good at punching heretics in the face and giving gifts, and he's all out of presents.
That's pretty good. All right, so what is that? Pretty much it. I mean,
honestly, that's pretty much it for like New Year's Eve. We're gonna have a 5:30 service with communion, but honestly, that's my world right now. Like that's what we're doing.
That's what you're in. Yeah,
we got services coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
very nice. All right.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to?
Anything going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh, well, yeah. Pretty much the same thing. I mean, we do have a Christmas Eve service, which I'm going to do. And then we'll have a Christmas Day service at 10. We just do one Christmas Eve service at 6.
Yeah.
And our last Advent will be this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just been a crazy, crazy month.
Absolutely.
So
I got to ask you though.
Yes.
You do gifts Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
We do Christmas Day.
All right. Morning.
Yeah. We'll do the whole thing, in the morning. We definitely way overdid it this year. Like it's one of those things where we bought, kind of throughout the year. It's like, oh, this would be a good Christmas gift, so we'll get it. And then my wife went out. She played for a Christmas cantata last weekend, and in Pekin, and then she was, kind of like, well, I'm out, and it's just me, and so I'm gonna stop at Target. I'm gonna have all these places, and then she came home with a ton of stuff, and then we started pulling out all the stuff we already had, and it was like, oh, this is too much. This is way too much. We should not have done this. So our kids are going to be spoiled this year. I think they're going to get a lot of stuff, but it's fun though at the same time. Yeah. So we're excited for that, but we haven't done a Christmas Eve thing. Do you do Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or?
Honestly, growing up, I always did Christmas Day.
Yeah,
and I'm so busy on Christmas Eve anymore. Like, Christmas Day is where it's at.
Yeah, understandable. Yep. That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's all that I have
that's
for
all
us.
For me, yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. I know it's been a while. It's probably going to be a while again, knowing that we got Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve coming up. But God's blessings to all, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.